who's worked around for more than 10 years, and I've worked on Wipro and Texas Instruments with clients, including clients like Motorola and Lucent. This is the way I generally introduce myself in different forums, but I guess it's totally irrelevant here. Okay, so the only relevant introduction I can give about myself is that probably important to tell you that I have very less exposure to healthcare or government adequacy or social work. It just so happened that I decided to contribute a little bit in voluntary work, and I chose to do it to help or enable people with mental health care. And that's how I got associated with ACME, with Dr. Nirmala, and I've been associated with only a week. So why I think it's important for me to tell you this is, so I'm just presenting you the information that I've collected in this 1 week with Dr. Nirmala and the volunteers, other volunteers in ACME, and just a representation, perhaps a mouthpiece, okay? So if you have any questions or clarifications, I may or may not be able to answer it, but definitely I will take a note of it and perhaps get it answered through Dr. Nirmala. Okay? Yeah. So I will be presenting about what the government of Karnataka has done till now about the employment reservation quotas, okay, under the Persons with Disability Act 1995. Okay, here it is, just a quick thing. I think you must all be familiar with it, I guess. So the PDA Act was to integrate the people with disabilities into mainstream society by granting equal opportunities, protection of rights, full participation through rehabilitation, education, economic opportunities, barrier-free environment, and other supporting services. Okay, so this is what they gave us a magic wand, that is 3% of vacancies in A and B posts, and and 5% for vacancies for C and D posts. So in that category of disability, it includes all these 7 categories. And as you see, the 7th category is the persons with mental illness. So the objective of the state policy, this I have cut pasted from the Karnataka government website, and put points that are relevant to the employment opportunities. That is to ensure implementation of the legislations, create opportunities for disabled entrepreneurs, effective implementation of various departmental schemes, ensure non-discrimination, and monitor the rehabilitation and other schemes undertaken along with NGOs and DPOs. So what did the Karnataka government do? In one of the papers, which is called as Disability Journal, which has made a case study on quotas in government of Karnataka. I don't know why this is going like this. Okay, these were the statements that was being made about the government of Karnataka, saying that it has successfully enacted the Disabilities Act, and in fact, one of the pioneering states to do this, and implemented the quota system through a process called as participatory governance in disability. And it also stated that Karnataka was to be a model state for other states to emulate with respect to this particular act. And Karnataka was one of the first states to appoint a quasi-judicial office of the State Commissioner for Disabilities, which takes care of the implementation and monitoring of all the government policies with respect to this. And they went ahead and conducted sensitization programs for the entire state bureaucracy, starting from the highest office of Chief Secretary to the section officers level of various departments with the help of DPO and NGOs. Okay, but we do not know if the sensitization programs included mental illness or not. It was mostly, we suspect that it was for the other disabilities except the mental illness. Okay, and disability as a subject was included in the training curriculum of administrative training institutes, and the bureaucrats were exposed to disability and disability-related concerns while they were still undergoing training at the administrative academy. And in 2002, the government of Karnataka made a list of all the posts with respect to each of the disability. That is the 7 listed disabilities that came under the PDA Act. And I have just given some samples specifically to PMIs. Okay. And in Group D, I think it's a no-brainer. Most departments, the kind of post that was identified was like peon, attendants, sweepers, cleaners, gardener, coolie, keepers, doby, dispatch, computer and machine operators. Some of the more interesting samples for a few departments and the posts identified in Group C is what I have given here. Public instructions is primary school HM, senior librarian, school teacher. Public Works Department is junior engineer, revenue inspector, store superintendent, model making artist. Registration and stamps is sub-registrar, senior assistant librarian, junior and senior supervisor, secretary. Tourism is manager, superintendent, photographer. In drugs control, accountant, librarian, cashier, statistician. Just bear with me, it's just going fast. Then mines and geology, auditor, supervisor, health and family welfare, commercial taxes, has all these posts identified for them. So it looks like almost all the posts that was there in 99 departments has been liberally identified for people with persons with mental illness. And I had a chance to look at that sheet. This is not the same for mentally retarded or blind or people with deafness. People with deafness, where the columns were quite small. For PMIs, however, the columns were quite big and it looked like they identified all posts for it. Okay, and in 2009, an amendment was provided where the state was given the complete flexibility to implement this 5% quota. So they could do it any way they liked it. They had that power to do it. Okay, and this is where the NGOs and DPOs had a role to play. The state has an omnibus reservation to cover 5% reservation for all 7 categories of disabilities. Okay, so in this 5%, they had to cover all. They had to give a quota for all the categories of disabilities, and they also set up Manasa Kendras, which are rehabilitation center initiated and funded by the government in quite a few districts in Karnataka. Okay, so given all this, and it looks like kudos goes to the government of Karnataka for having taken at least these steps towards enabling persons with mental illness. Okay, and 2011 there's going to be a secretarial level meeting to monitor and take this forward, which is where recommendations are needed. Okay, but I hope it's not an exaggeration if I say this is what the government is providing as an enabler to the persons of mental illness. It's a cart with wheels that are not even attached. Okay. The reason for it is when we ask the government official, when I say we, please take it as at me. Okay. There are around 200 vacant posts. Reservations are generally considered, okay, only if there are 200 vacant posts, okay. That's when they really consider giving a reservation for these people. And out of 100 roster reservation categories, PMI ranks as 84. That is, after considering 84 posts for other disabilities, that's when they are going to consider persons with mental illness. Okay, so this shows what are the chances of a person with mental illness to get a job here under this quota. Okay. So consider this. The recommendation is that, okay, if you at least give 1% mandate for PMI, okay, government officials regularly audit is conducted to ensure that this 5% quota is reserved. Okay, 5% of their vacant posts has to be given mandatorily to people with disablement. Okay, so if we are able to mandate at least 1% compartment for our PMIs, then probably there is a good chance that, okay, NGOs and DPOs can work to get them recruited in government. Okay. And to see whether it really deserves that 1% mandate, there is some statistics here. It says 1% of the population who statistics severe mental disorder. 10% is lifetime risk of developing severe mental disorders. 3% is depression. 3 to 5% are substance abuse. And 1 in every 4 patients in primary mental health care have common neurosis, and 1% have epilepsy and mental retardation. And in India, there is the statistics says that there is 11 million in India who have severe mental illness, and 110 million in India likely episodes of severe mental illness in their lifetime. Given the statistics, does PMI not deserve only not deserve 1% quota is a question. So we can strongly recommend the 1% quota for the government. Okay, and here's some more statistics. As per 2001 census, Karnataka has a disabled population of around 9 lakh people, out of which 6 lakh is rural and 2 lakh is urban. And among this, 51.4% of the total disabled population is literate, which means this many people can really be empowered and recruited successfully in the government if this quota system really works. Okay. And there is this statistics of saying what is the distribution of different categories of illness among the disabled population. If you will see, the locomotive disability is the highest, which is like 53%. Okay, mental illness is 5%, mentally retarded is 4%, blind is 10%, low vision is 4%, hearing is 10%, speech is 3%, and multiple disabilities is 10%. But given this, MI is 5% compared to locomotive disability, which is 53%. But taking the WHO statistics, which says that 10% of the population are vulnerable to being to getting severe mental illness, it might as well amount to 50%. Which is equivalent to people with locomotive disability. So this can also be a premise for recommending 1% mandate of quota in the government. Okay, but given that, okay, fine, the government is going to agree with the 1% quota, is that really enough? Is just giving a quota enough? I think this topic you will all understand very well. So here are hypothetical situations which I took from the American Disability Act Employer's Guide. Okay, so they have given all these hypothetical situations for employers to understand the Disability Act and implement it. Okay, so the hypothetical situation goes something like this. A PMI applicant is offered a job, okay, and the post could be accountant based on skills. But did the employer consider, while recruiting this person as an accountant, did he consider that this person might undergo serious concentration problems in his job, and what will he provide for that? And what is he going to what is going to happen to this employer if he really faces those problems? Then let's say a driver's job is given for a person suffering from bipolar disorder. Then he's expert driver, skillful and very credible. That's his history. But due to his mental illness, maybe when he is driving executives to an important meeting, he might start to go reckless. He might drive recklessly. Okay? And after this, obviously the employer is going to dismiss him because lives cannot be endangered. Okay? And because of this, now the stigma has actually multiplied. And next time this same employer finds a PMI application, what is he going to do? He's going to straight away reject it. Okay? And probably this application could have been for a photographer or from an OCD who is very capable of doing that without any problems at all. And he gets rejected because of the stigma that is created, unfortunately, by this very quota system. Okay, so again I took this paragraph from Disability Studies Quarterly by the Society for Disability Studies, usage of quotas in the state budget, a case study of Karnataka in India, which says that one of the key lessons learned from the experience of Karnataka is that quotas are not enough. What is more important is the executive will to enforce it and participation from civil society to monitor the actions of the executive wing of the government. Okay, so how can we at least provide a two-wheeled cart? Here, even if quotas are given, an immediate concern comes. What medical questions can the employers ask during a job interview if the government officials decide to take in some persons with mental illness? Where can employers get information about disability etiquette? What accommodations must be provided for job interviews itself? Can the job candidates be given some special accommodation saying, okay, he can take his typing test in a place where there is less disturbance, and so on? What constitutes a valid job offer for a PMI? What medical questions can employers ask once a job offer has been made? And can employers rescind a job offer without violating the PDA? And how to protect against covered discrimination against disclosure? And what are the confidentiality policies? Okay, so if a person does get successfully recruited in this quota, what is the confidentiality policy that the government officials are going to follow? Are they going to tell everybody that this person is from PMI quota? Is there any HRD policies that stops them from doing so? Nothing is in place. And you must, this is quite a familiar problem, unique to PMI, and that is the diversity and uniqueness of every individual's problem. Okay, it can be long-term, short-term, having the duration could be indefinite, unknowable, or is expected to be at least several months. That is the nature of mental illness. Okay, so given this diversity and uniqueness, how can reasonable accommodation be provided to PMIs who say are given an employment in the government under through this quota system? Okay, so here is a sneak look at American Disability Act, where probably things would be emulated here. Under the American Disability Act, interviews for skills are done independent of disability status. People who are interviewing the people will not look at the disability status. They interview them first. They interview them independent of their disability status. After giving a conditional offer to the employees, only then the employer has the right to question his illness. And even when he questions his illness, it is limited. He cannot ask all details of his mental illness. Okay. And in this ADA Act, the employee may or may not choose to disclose his disability at the time of the interview. He can disclose it anytime during his employment. Okay. And when he chooses to disclose, even in the middle of his employment, still he is qualified for reasonable accommodation. Okay, and what is reasonable accommodation? As you all know, it's modified work schedules. It is given in the HRD policies of the employers who follow the ADA Act. Is that they have to give modified work schedules, special leave policies, and post-disabled work policies, which means that if a person undergoes mental illness for a prolonged period, then there's a policy to get him back to work under certain conditions. Okay, and then inspection rules. Inspection rules means when employer is not behaving properly or against what the job qualifies him, then the employer can contact psychiatrists and healthcare professionals to understand if that is being caused purely because of his illness, or is it not being caused by the illness. And based on that, he can actually terminate his employment. He cannot straight away terminate his employment. And if he does, then there is a Employee Discrimination Act which they can file a case with the judiciary if they really discriminate. Then again, reasonable accommodation also includes supervisory help, workplace or equipment changes, also providing a job or supporting job coach, and reassignment of work. So probably if they find that they are not performing well in one particular post, they are supposed to, instead of terminating them, they are supposed to reassign their work to a different post. This is all provided in the HRD policy of the ADA Act. Okay, so the Government of America follows this. Probably there are suggestions, some recommendations that the Government of Karnataka or other governments here can emulate here. Then suggestions is that the government to recruit people in collaboration or through known and specific job forums and organizations that are associated with NGOs and DPOs. And how about the different schemes that people spoke about in the seminar today and yesterday, like transitional employment schemes, jobs on probation, trial jobs, and supported employment scheme and part-time employment scheme. Can the government give this or allow this for people working on quotas? And immediate suggestions and actions needed for the State Execution Committee, which is, as we told, it's going to, a secretarial level meeting is going to take place shortly. Yeah, that's what the GOK said when ACME contacted them. But they have not included any civil society or user in those meetings. Can we get that included? Is jobs to be looked upon as an occupational therapy, a civil right? I think this was discussed by other speakers here. And here, how do we offer a gracious package of training the employers and government officials with respect to persons with mental illness? And where do we begin? Is it employer sensitization or HR package for people with mental illness? And to end, this is what Dr. Nirmala's favorite adage is, do we look at it as jobs for their disability or jobs for their capability, or jobs for the people or people for the jobs? That's all I have.
Anybody been employed so far by this act? Did anybody get any job so far?
Okay, through this quota, whether people have been employed or not, when ACME asked that question, okay, they sent out a request for all the departments to get back with that data. Response is awaited. Okay, most probably nobody, at least from persons with mental illness.